All right, so good news. We are at the execution stage, which is not a negative. In horse training, this was the point where I'd get on the horse. This was it. This was the execution. This was the time to deliver. And it's time to become the project manager. You are in charge of the whole project. You might subcontract some of your building out or whatever, but you know what? Those details matter, and you make sure and stay on top of everything that's going on. Doesn't mean you have to tell everybody what to do, but you want to know at all times where the parts are moving and what's going. It's kind of important to be relentless in this point, as it is with your budget. It's easier for a contractor to spend your money than it is you. So the more involved you are in each one of those processes, the better, the better results you're going to have. You know what you're doing in at least generally, and if you don't, you can find out. There's tons of information out there on YouTube using some AI, whatever it takes. Get involved with what's going on. What we sometimes do, depending on the scope of the project, we recommend a five-step meeting every week, where you go through each one of these processes. You know, the assessment, the strategy, the preparation, the execution, and the final one will be reassessment. And if you do that weekly or daily, that helps you to stay in tune with what's going on so that you can still have some influence without absolutely having to take control of the project and do all the work yourself. The next kind of step that you're going to look into is your management, your staffing, and your structures. Very important to get those things right. Your training programs, your standard operating procedures. We do help with that. That's another area we can help out with. By now, you probably have a pretty good idea of where you're going with your guest ranch and your training, but the details in your training matter. The tendency is to think that your staffing understands your whole motivation, your whole big picture in a way that maybe they don't. They're coming in, doing their job for the day, and they want to learn in the beginning. But in my experience, if the groundwork and the foundations weren't laid in the beginning, that this was going to be a training process that they would be going through. It didn't take very long till they began to develop patterns that weren't maybe in alignment with what you were doing. So once they head in that direction, it becomes harder and harder to redirect. So I would say you want to empower your employees. That's the big picture goal. But as you start out, you want to have influence. You want to have a real clear roadmap for them, a path that they're going to go down in their training and in their development, in great detail, because details matter again, especially when you're serving guests. Just assisting them in that learning process once they get going. And the way that works really well is to test and trust, and then make sure that there's a follow up on it, that they're actually doing what you would like them to do in this role. So you're giving them some trust, and then you want to qualify it and make sure that it's in alignment with the way your ranch is going and the way you want it to go and the way you want it to run 5 years from now. Standard operating procedures often include something that's really effective is, and I know it sounds a little corny, but when you put labels on where things go and throughout your whole operation, your guests, your staff, everybody will know where to put things when they're done. And when they pick something up and they go to use it, it shows that you've thought through where this tool or this bar tool or this hammer or whatever it is supposed to go. So those are all things that would fall under, your training programs, and your staffing, and then your structure for your hierarchy of how the staff operate and who they're accountable to. So just a few pointers on staffing. Step number 3 and in this category is to establish the rhythm. Be aware of the rhythm of your business and the way it's running. Now this includes daily, weekly, and then monthly, and then also annually. So The way I used to do it is I would have a kind of a big picture for the year. I would have a 30-day plan, I'd have a 7-day plan, and then I'd have kind of a plan for that day. It keeps you from getting caught in the weeds, but it also generates a rhythm. And like I talked about earlier, that weekly meeting with your staff, especially when you're going through a lot of different events coming through, that can be a real game changer for you. It feels a little awkward the first few times you do it, but once you get into the rhythm and people know what to expect from each meeting, it's consistent. You're going through these 5 steps. You're looking at what's coming up in the next 7 days. You're looking at what's the strategy for this next 7 days. What's the preparation things we need to do? And then what's execution going to look like? What's the guest experience going to look like? And then allow some time for reassessment from the past week. What could you have done better as a team in the last week and what you did really well. You'll probably get a little bit of resistance when you say, well, what could we do better, what we could have done better last week. But you know what? That's part of the process. And once they get used to reassessing their own activities and the activities of the group, then it it deflects from the battles in the moment. If something goes wrong during the production, they can fix that in the moment because they know that at the end of the week they're going to have a chance to recap it and to kind of go through it again and say, we could have done this a little bit differently. When you do these types of things, what it does is it enables you to deal with the things that are unexpected. You're dealing with the things that you know are going to happen, but so that you can have the latitude to deal with the things that, the inconsistencies are the things that you didn't expect to happen, because there will be some. But again, know that you can problem solve, know that you can handle whatever comes your way. Take a lot of confidence in that. You'll be surprised at how more at ease you are and you come across to your guests if you are confident and you just don't have the fears, because those fears will nag at you and your guests get nervous and your horses get nervous and everybody around you gets nervous if you don't think that you can handle whatever comes your way. So kind of an important point there. All right, the step 5 in that process under execution is to think about what you can do better. We've just touched on that a little bit, but it really speaks to owning the ride. Like, you know what you did wrong, you know what you did right. You're after the guest feedback. You want that guest feedback. Keep in mind, some people will be very harsh with you, and you need to find a way, and I've struggled with it too sometimes, to find a way to just take the emotion out of it. This is your baby, this is your livelihood, this is what you built, and sometimes taking that negative feedback is pretty tough. Also, the flip side of that is, this is your vision, and some people coming into it with a different vision will have different expectations, and that goes back to your marketing. If your marketing aligns with who you want to come and who you would like to host and what your ideal avatar, your guest, looks like and behaves like, and what their tendencies are, and what, how at ease they are, or whatever the case may be, or what level of luxury they're looking for, you've brought them in, you've actually reeled them in, and they're there because you invited them in a way. So that's kind of a cool way of managing the guest reviews before you actually have to respond to them, because you know that the guests that you're bringing are your demographic. So own the ride. Again, if you like this video and you think you're on the track to getting that guest ranch, and you've bought the property or whatever stage you're at, we can help with you making the plan. We can lay this all out for you in a clear paperwork kind of a process that you can go through and go step by step and develop your own nuances in your own ranch to create your own legacy and your own profitable revenue streams and your business within your guest ranch. So join in, subscribe, like, see you in the next one.